I'm here today with magician Jim Berg from Twin Cities Magic and Costume. Great to have you here today, Jim.
It's wonderful to be here, Brianna.
Magic is quite an art form, and I was wondering, how did you get started doing magic?
Well, my family was in the steel business, and back in 1968, one of the steel mills sent out a magic kit promoting and advertising their new magic steel plate. Being the youngest in the family, when my dad brought the kit home, I got the magic kit. So as many magicians start out, it started with a kit.
Just a little kit, and it got you on the way to you perform now as a career. How long have you been doing that?
Pretty much since I first got that kit. I had my first paying job when I was 13 years old, doing a holiday party at a Masonic lodge. And I had to have my parents drive me to the job, my first job, because I didn't have any transportation.
13 years old, needing to get a ride to your first gig. Do you remember your first trick?
I do. Oddly enough, it was in that magic kit, and I happen to have it right here. Would you like to see it?
I would love to see it.
Alrighty. So this is a trick called the cups and balls, and it's the oldest trick in magic. So not only is it my first trick, but it's the first magic trick, dating back to the early Roman times. And there was simultaneous thought going on. Magic's international and universal. So if you went back into the early days in China or India, you would find people having done this trick. It's a trick that uses 1, 2, 3 balls and 1, 2, 3 solid cups. We're going to start off by taking ball number 1, put it on top of the center cup, cover it up, and with a snap and a tap, you know what happens? It goes right through, solid through solid. Here, we'll do it again for you. 1, 2, 3 solid cups. Ball number 2, we're going to make twice as difficult by making it go through 2 cups with 2 snaps, and you guessed it, it goes right through. Now, Brianna, some people think it only works in the middle, so this time we'll do it over on the end, again using 1, 2, 3 solid cups. One last ball, one last time, cover it up, and with a snap and a tap, it goes right through. So let me show you just how easy this is, and you can learn a trick too. The whole time I told you we had 3 balls and 1, 2, 3 solid cups. But in reality, we really have 4 balls. Now, the 4th one's right here. 3 things I'd like to point out about it. Number 1, it's invisible. Number 2, it's transparent. Therefore, number 3, you can't see it. Make sense? So check this out. Oops. I have to be more careful. I knocked it off. It's hard when they're invisible. Anyway, just like that, with a snap and a tap, and you know what happens? The same as before. It goes right through. So now there are 3 balls below that you can see and 1 that's still invisible. And for those skeptics out there, do you see the invisible ball there? Of course not. You couldn't see it if it was. It's invisible. And it didn't go up because that's against gravity, and everybody knows gravity's the law, which means it went down. Would it be easier if you could see the 4th ball? This is where you get the help, Brianna.
Yes.
If you could please do this for me. Thank you. Thank you. It's a cheap way to get applause, but it works. But it also makes so that you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 balls, 1, 2, 3 cups. And that's the story of the cups and balls. My very first trick.
That was great. So is magic a part of your everyday life?
Absolutely. In fact, starting from the time that I learned my first tricks, I did my first show, I took some lessons at the community center, and then a couple of years later, I actually taught those lessons at the same place. I went for my first real outside of magic job. I was going to be a cashier at the grocery store, and I did an interview, and they said they liked me, and I had one last test to do. So they took me over to the cash register, and they handed me a $1 bill, and they said, we'd like to show us how to make change. So this is where my first mistake came. I went like this and said, there you go. There are 2 halves. They didn't think that was very funny. They take their money very seriously. I folded it again and said, there's 4 quarters. Still not even a snicker. Apparently they had wanted to see 4 quarters the hard way, which looks something like that.
That's impressive.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah, so whether it was my first job, I paid for part of my college by doing magic shows. When I met the love of my life, I proposed using magic. And in fact, when I went to give her her engagement ring, I was going to do that magically. So I took a gold, her gold finger ring, and I was floating it, and it was going to change into the engagement ring. And that is the most nervous magic trick I've ever done. But then after that, we opened Twin Cities Magic and Costumes. So every day I get to do magic. We have people coming in and we demonstrate magic tricks at the counter and have a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Jim.
You bet. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.